Hey everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Live Q&A Wednesdays with Darcy. I'm the creator of the Vibrant Woman program. I have some questions that I'm going to address today. Number 1, how to get through menopause, how to thrive through menopause. The best breakfast for steady energy, and if we have time, plantar fasciitis, what it has to do with what you're eating. So welcome. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy to be here. I had to show up today. Wet hair, don't care. We are having a tremendous heat wave where I live here in the Midwest, and it's summer, so I have wet hair all the time. My hair is wet from sweat, and then it's wet from the pool, and then it's wet from a shower, and then I pretty much start all over. So, welcome to wet hair season. And I hope that wherever you are, if you're also experiencing this heat wave, that you're taking good care of yourself by staying hydrated and moving outside as much as possible, but in the cooler hours. So this is actually a topic I'm going to pick up again next week when we talk about electrolytes. I got a lot of questions, and we're going to have to spread them out a little bit. So welcome. Let's dive right in. Today, the first thing I really want to talk about is this question that I got. And I get versions of this question quite a bit lately, and especially as I'm working with more folks one-on-one, women in my private Vibrant coaching practice. And it's this question: what is your approach to menopause? And a lot of women want to know, like, where are they in relationship to menopause? How do I know if this is what's happening to me? Number 2, what do I have to look forward to? This is a loaded topic in our culture. I'll get to that in just a second. And then a lot of women want to know, like, is it possible to thrive? Is menopause something to be afraid of? So I'm going to give you my take on that today, and I'm going to give you my best recommendations. Okay. I'll give you a little bit of my own personal experience. I'm not there yet, but I'm definitely on the way. And so I want to tell you what I'm noticing through my own body as well, because I think the most important thing that we can do as vibrant women, as women who want to thrive, is to question the cultural narrative. Okay. And I'll tell you more about that and what I mean in just a minute. But I think that we get to decide how our bodies are going to navigate this. I think we get to decide to listen to our bodies over the din coming from the mainstream capitalist culture. Okay. And I think we get to decide what to prioritize and how we want to navigate that. So, just on its own, that little piece helps us to thrive because it puts us back in our power. Okay. So, there's that. First, let's look at the context of this. Menopause is a loaded word. A lot of us are terrified of it. A lot of women on the other side say that they're feeling more vibrant and free and powerful than ever in their lives. So I think we need to learn to listen to them. Again, in our culture, older women lose their value because they've lost their sexual appeal. I just wrote a blog article all about, feeling sexually objectified as a woman. So this is, again, very loaded. But what I want to invite us to think about is this idea of our fertility as women, and that it's only one part of our lives. And the culture makes it the most important part of our lives, doesn't it? Right? So we're a little bit terrified of, like, what's on the other side of that. Or maybe we're not. Maybe we're excited about it. But the other thing that happens to us is that we hear all of these stories mainly through advertisers that have something to sell us for their profit, maybe for our benefit, but mostly for their profit. And so we're hearing that there's all these products that we're going to need in order to survive this phase of our lives. And I'm going to challenge all of that. So here's my mini rant on menopause and what I'm inviting you to think about. First, let's look at the context. Menopause set up as a medical issue, really. It's talked about in the same way that we talk about other illnesses or diseases. And I'm going to propose to you that it's not any of that. It's a beautiful, natural phase of a woman's life as we pass into another cycle. A woman's life is all about cycles, okay? Microcycles, monthly ones, macro cycles, seasonal ones. The Vibrant Woman program that I teach is based on that foundation. Okay, I'm the first woman in my family. I'll just kind of out myself for a minute here. I'm the first woman on one side of my family to have lived this long in a human body with a uterus. So I still have my uterus. I'm still cycling comfortably. That's just a little FYI. Um, but the reason I'm saying that is because you might come from a very similar family background, and definitely those families are situated in this larger cultural narrative that I'm talking about today. This idea that we're baby producing machines, that that's what a woman's body is for, that that's what our fertility is for, and that if we get to this stage in life where we're no longer interested in producing babies, that we have all this equipment that's irrelevant or not needed. Now, that's the farthest thing from the truth, because what that does is that views a woman's body and and its parts as a means to production, as if those parts only exist to produce something for someone else out there. We have lost our vision of a woman's body and all of its parts being integral and necessary for her own self and her own vibrant health. So we tend to look at the uterus as something that's not needed after a certain age. And so, therefore, if a woman is presenting with symptoms, with problems, that therefore that thing should just be cut out and removed to remove the problems. Now, for some people, and if you're somebody that's been through that kind of procedure and that's working for you, that's great. Um, a lot of the folks who tend to come and find me, that's not working, or they're wanting to avoid that. And here's why. Here's why I think it's important to talk about this. This view of a woman and her body parts as simply a means to an end, as a vessel of production, that's coming from this lens: cis hetero, white supremacy, capitalist, imperialist, colonial patriarchy. Okay, that's the name for that thought system. The world is in the grips of it now, still. And a large part of my work, a lot of other people are working on this. We're trying to unravel that narrative. We're trying to replace that paradigm with one that's actually more human centered, that allows us to thrive, that allows the planet to thrive, right? And so I'm inviting you to view a woman's body as a beautiful, natural, holistic thing, as nature in so we're not like nature. We are nature. And our bodies know this. They are a part of nature. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how to navigate the transitions through the lifespan. They know how to thrive. Our cells know how to co create and cooperate to thrive for the entire lifespan, for our entire life cycles. And the problem is, we have thoughts and beliefs and socializing, modern societal norms that convince us to do otherwise. We get in the way of our own vibrant health. We get in the way of our own thriving. Okay. So I'm going to talk about a couple of the ways that we do that and invite you to making some changes. But I really just kind of wanted to lay this groundwork and invite us to even look at what is that negative charge around the word menopause and the process of it, and the way that the culture creates a negative stereotype around women that have passed through this beautiful, natural, empowering phase of their fertility cycle, the part of their life. So instead of viewing us as a means to an end and a way to produce, that whole production oriented thinking, again, is capitalism, and looking at bottom lines and profit margins instead of whole integral humans. So I want us to view ourselves as nature, and I want us to view everything that happens in our body as a natural process. I'm going to check my notes here because I could definitely go down a bunch of rabbit holes, and I want to stick to answering this question as best I can and get us through this on track. So what I'm saying is that approach through that lens is inherently flawed because it's very narrow. It's too limited, and it keeps us focused on a symptomatic level. Okay. Anytime we attack a symptom, we're ineffective, because we're ignoring the root cause underneath. So, what I'm inviting us to do then is to say, all right, if a woman is having uncomfortable experiences in her body around this change we call menopause, here's another little tip for you. You might come up with your own name for it. It might help if you just reframe this process for yourself in a way that feels more beautiful and empowering. So, nothing wrong with the word menopause if you want it. If you don't want it, you get to choose a new name. Okay. So, if you're uncomfortable, if you're having these typical symptoms, so what are the symptoms? Well, for a lot of women, what we hear is vaginal dryness, loss of libido or sexual interest, loss of energy, fatigue. That could be mental or physical fatigue. Often it's both. And for the mental part, we tend to say like foggy brain fog, a lack of mental clarity. Some of us will struggle to find the right words. That happens to me when I ovulate as well. It has a lot to do with estrogen on the brain. So, also hot flashes, loss of sleep, change in weight, especially around the middle. Okay, so none of those things necessarily are something that we want. What I'm going to do is invite us to say, well, what's causing all of those symptoms? Instead of just taking a different pill for every symptom, trying to mask the symptom, why don't we get really curious and look at what's happening underneath them? Look at these symptoms as a message from the body. Look at these symptoms as an invitation to ask ourselves, what is the body trying to do? Because it is always trying to balance itself. So, what is the gift of this symptom? Okay. Here's the other thing. These are the same symptoms of hormone imbalance as well. And many of the women in my program claim that one of the very first things they notice that improves when they follow the protocols of the Vibrant Woman program is their menstruation cycle. It becomes more regular, it becomes less symptomatic, it becomes more comfortable. Many women like me who have been at this for quite many years notice that they actually can celebrate their cycle, and that the changes that happen during the month, or if we're looking at menopause, this is the bigger cycle, the changes that happen shifting into the whole next phase of life, which is going to be without an ovulation cycle. But it doesn't mean there's no cyclical change happening. We're just going to take our cues for these cyclical changes more from outside in nature rather than inside our bodies. We're still going to be synced up to cycles. Okay, so this is something to remember. The point is, we become less symptomatic when the body is able to balance itself, and it's far more capable of producing the right amounts of the right hormones in the right timing when we're providing the body with all of the necessary building blocks that it needs to create that stuff in the first place. And when we're removing the stressors that bombard our immune systems, the inflammatory cycles, that those things create a whole lot of like static on the channels, that without that static, this beautiful symphony of hormones can play out much more crisply and cleanly, and therefore far more comfortably to us in our bodies. Okay, so I just want to lay that groundwork. So, why are we symptomatic around our cycles then? At big transitions, we're far more vulnerable to this. So, that's at menarche when women begin their menstrual years, and at menopause as we pass out of them. See, our bodies have evolved with the earth, and the earth is full of cycles. Our modern lives have distracted us. They have gotten us out of rhythm with that. We don't even pay attention. Most of us don't even know it's a full moon. Can you feel that full moon energy? I was awake all night and I am all abuzz with full moon energy. It affects me, it impacts me. This is not woo woo. We live on a planet with natural forces that impact us. We were meant to be a part of this beautiful natural dance. And what's happened in our modern lives is we have removed ourselves as human beings. And it's a big mistake. And it's showing up in our lives, causing symptoms. Those symptoms are messages trying to tell us what we need to do to get back in balance. So, the two most important places that I invite women to look at in terms of hormone balance, in terms of this, whether it's a monthly cycle or whether it's menopause, which is part of the grand cycle and passing into that new phase of life without a monthly cycle. Two most important pieces. And I'll tell you first, what they are, and then we'll talk about, what we're doing wrong and what I'm going to invite you to change to make this better for yourself. Nutrition and movement. All right. Nutrition is the single most powerful thing that you can do to help your body heal. Sorry, I have something here. To help your body to heal. Again, it's the building blocks. Your body cannot make new cells, can't make hormones or neurotransmitters or bones. It can't do anything except with what you put in it. And now here's something that's a little bit hard to hear. As grown women and men, as grown people, we are responsible for our own nutrition. We feed ourselves. Okay, that's a sacred responsibility. What are you feeding yourself? Be really honest with yourself. What are you feeding yourself? And why? And there's no shame or blame. We are in a hustle culture. We are busy. We have a lot on our plates to do. We're running businesses and families and communities. I mean, it's not easy to keep yourself afloat in the modern world. But I promise you this, if you don't take the time and energy to feed yourself real, wholesome, nutrient dense food, you don't stand a chance at keeping up with what you need to do. Your brain and your body require essential nutrients. The best place to get them, the place that your body was evolved to be able to extract and use them from, is real food. Okay. And I'm talking about healthy fats, quality proteins, the rainbow color of vegetables that come as fresh from the dirt as possible. I'm learning to grow my own this year. I'm actually fighting aphids to be able to grow my own. That's not for everyone. For some of us, it's going to be a quick pass through a produce department. But the point is, if you got to make a quick pass through a grocery store, I want you shopping in the produce department and not the aisles with all the boxes and bags with a long list of ingredients that you can't even pronounce. Okay. So that's the first thing. Movement is the next thing. We have gotten into, there's a fitness craze, and part of it plays into this whole idea of toxic diet culture. I do not support any of that. I really want you moving outside every day in a fun, easy, joyful way, with some sunlight exposure on your skin and some exposure to greenery nearby you. That sounds so subtle and so simple. It's almost like, well, yeah, I know that, but you don't even know the power of that combined with this nutrition in terms of just allowing your body's natural abilities to heal. So powerful. Here's why. If you're taking that nice, easy walk outside, what you're actually doing, you're bringing in fresh oxygen. This is important for your brain. It's important for your parasympathetic nervous system. You're clearing cortisol out of your bloodstream instead of pounding away on a treadmill at too high of an intensity, meaning too high of a heart rate, where you're actually creating more stress in your body. Okay? If you are a treadmill lover, I am not here to take away your treadmill. But what I'm saying is, we have this, again, this is mainstream modern culture kind of here beating us into habits that are actually not good for us. So we're too sedentary, we're sitting all day, and then we try to make up for it by pounding on the treadmill for 30 minutes. Both of those things are harmful. Okay. So I would much rather see you moving easily through the day, be consistent about it. A lot of folks I know get on that treadmill and get hurt, have to take 2 weeks off to heal. I just want you doing natural, easy movement at first. At first. This is the most important thing that we can do for hormone balance. Once we get a baseline, again, the women in my private coaching practice, I walk them through this step by step, and we know exactly when to increase the intensity and how much. Because, yes, we do need weight bearing activity for our bone density. We are going to need more than just that easy walk, but it is the best place to start, especially if you have had symptoms like waking in the night, like hot flashes that are uncomfortable, like brain fog, because those things are telling us that we've got too much stress. That's basically what that's telling us. And so we need to backtrack. We need to be able to clear those stress hormones and start again. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of how to thrive through the process of menopause, I want to mention this little point too. This is something I think about a lot, not just in terms of menopause, but in terms of just all of our health issues. You know, there is this belief that aging equals disease. And look around, we hear it all the time that as you get older, you are at higher risk for certain kinds of disease. And I'm going to make a really challenging statement right here. Disease is not about aging. It's not about getting older. It's not about how long you've been here in your body on the planet. Disease is about how long you've been abusing that body. So the older we are, the longer we've been doing these things that are not good for us, like eating processed foods, like either being sedentary and then getting on the treadmill, like not getting enough rest, like living a life that's terribly stressful. Okay. So the longer we do those things, the body is keeping up as best it can until it can't. So that leads me to just share a little bit of my own experience here. I'm of the age where I should be approaching menopause. I'm still a few years away from where my mother and my maternal grandmother started it, and so there's that's a bit of an expectation there that genetically we're going to follow a similar pattern. Here's the thing. When I had my adrenals and my thyroid crash about a decade ago, a little more than that, I hit burnout really bad. I hit rock bottom hard. I write about that story over on my blog, and I'm happy to share some links because I think that's an important story that helps you understand why I'm doing the work that I'm doing right now. Because I worked my way all the way back from rock bottom burnout. I was a mess. And according to the experts that I was seeing that wear those white coats, I should have ended up on medication for the rest of my life, but I didn't. I used it as an opportunity to learn more, to explore what we know about healing more in the margins. And I committed myself to making this one small, powerful change, listening into my body and following the next step and the next step and the next step toward what it was asking for. And now I'm in the best shape of my life. I remember during that time that that burnout also impacted my hormones, and I was going through what I consider similar to menopause. I had lost my cycle. I was having all kinds of terrible symptoms. I had the hair loss. I had my thyroid was down, so of course my temperatures weren't right, which meant I couldn't ovulate. Um, the estrogen dominance was terrible. The weight gain, the bloating. I mean, it was terrible. And I had hot flashes, the really uncomfortable ones, keeping me awake all night, sweating through my sheets, and then the bounce back to being freezing cold. I mean, again, those are tied up with thyroid issues, which is a lot of what happens to women in menopause. So I hope this is waving some pink flags for you, like, oh, this may not just be menopause. This might be my thyroid struggling. What do I need to do to support my thyroid? Okay. So anyway, I know what that feels like. And I'm in a place right now where I'm still cycling regularly and comfortably. I did have, I think, an anovulatory cycle last time because I missed a period. And I think it's because I didn't ovulate. And I did have what I consider 2 hot flashes. And I'll tell you, to me, actually, what I was experiencing was a phenomenally beautiful thing. It felt like an electric charge went through my body. Um, and so, yeah, I felt tingly and hot all over. My face flushed. I looked in the mirror. I was red. I was lit up and on fire in a way that felt beautiful and empowering to me. I feel like this light, the light of God, came pouring in the top of my head and filled my whole body with this power and this heat and this clarity. And so, if that is my invitation to menopause, to the next phase of my life, to the next cycle that I'm being invited into, bring it. I will take that gift of clarity and feeling on fire with the light of life in the universe any day. Now, I know that makes me a little radical over here. I admit it. Here's my point. I have been paying very close attention to my health and well being, feeling my cells thrive for a long time now. So that's the other thing I just want to mention. It's never too late, never too late to get on the path to thriving, to stop hitting yourself with a hammer. As soon as we stop doing the things that are hurting us, we feel better. The longer we go without re-engaging in that harmful behavior, better and better and better and better it gets. So I do believe it's possible to thrive through this next phase. I know lots of women are experiencing symptoms that are not comfortable. I also know the power of listening to what those symptoms are asking for and beginning to pay attention and beginning to make some changes that are in alignment with nature, that are in alignment with what your body actually needs. If we consider those symptoms a tap on the shoulder, a request, the more we practice this relationship with our body, the sooner we can respond. She doesn't have to get so loud. Okay. So that's what I'm inviting us into. It really is a paradigm shift. Addressing root causes is a paradigm shift. Look around, we have a sick care system. We don't need to get sick before we begin to pay attention to the body. And that's exactly what happens in my Vibrant Woman program. In my private coaching, we go as deep and personal as we absolutely need to for every single woman to make sure that her body is getting exactly what it needs. We dial in specifics on nutrition. And I'll tell you, what that really means is adding the nutrients I'm talking about and removing the toxic stuff. Toxic stuff like sugar, excess processed carbs. If you don't already know what your personal carbohydrate tolerance is, you need to know that. All right. And I offer a very simple process for how to find that out. If you're curious, come on over to my website. That's a part of all the coaching packages that I work on people with. I also it's a mini bite for people who just want to start there and give it a try. So personal carbohydrate tolerance. We did a carb challenge. Actually, I do want to tell you about this. I know we're getting low, short on time. Last fall in my Vibrant Woman community, that's a free Facebook group that we have here. We did a 2-week carb challenge, and the results in there were incredible. I had women reporting things like less fibromyalgia pain, I had somebody who had knee surgery, less knee pain, less chronic knee pain. And a lot of you are thinking, what does that have to do with what I'm eating? Well, it has everything to do with what you're eating because it has everything to do with chronic inflammation, which we're creating with our modern standard American junk food diets. Okay, so it's incredible. The results are incredible. Find your own personal carbohydrate tolerance. Love yourself by sticking to it. Movement, get the right intensity for you. This happens in my private coaching packages. For you, if you need to start out on your own, my best advice is start with a walk. I would do nothing but walking for a good couple of weeks until you notice a lessening of your symptoms. If you are somebody who likes to run, get on a treadmill, do intense stuff like HIIT, high intensity training. There's nothing wrong with that in the proper relationship. But what we really need to do is lower stress by keeping that heart rate. You need to be moving, but you need to be moving at a heart rate that will clear cortisol from your system, not add to it by making it more stressed. Okay. So get your easy walk in, get plenty of rest, remove the toxins. Toxins in our personal care products, in our home cleaning products, they mimic estrogen in the body. They put us at very high risk for hormone imbalance issues. And again, I have a package where I work with people. You can set up a single session and we can go through together where the toxins are hiding in your home and in your lifestyle. We can't control, we do live in a toxic world. Glyphosate is sprayed all over 75% of our planet right now. We can't control all of that. Thinking about it can cause stress. I don't want to add more stress. So what we do then is very simple. We look at where we can have control, and definitely what deodorant, toothpaste you use, what you're putting on your hair, what you're putting all over your body, what you're putting in your home. you do have control over that. And when we make those changes and remove the toxins, we are going a long way toward having control over the health of our bodies. Toxins in our food supply, too. So I'm going to invite you to learn more about that. Go to the Environmental Working Group's website, EWG. I will put the link here somewhere nearby, and you can take a look there. They've got some great resources for how to find out if the stuff that you're slathering on yourself and your home put you at higher risk for stress through toxins, through environmental toxins. Okay. The last piece that I invite women to, this is definitely a part of my Vibrant Woman program, is intuition. A woman's intuition is not to be underestimated. A lot of us get real heady about intuition. We kind of think of it as thoughts that come, and perhaps that is one of the ways your intuition works for you. I really invite people to put intuition back into the body. We can tap into the body and notice how we feel. Notice where we feel expansive and curious and drawn to something, which is a yes. Notice where the body is really contracting and recoiling. That's a no. Bodies never lie. So using the body's wisdom to know what's the next right step and if something is good for you or not, that goes a very long way. It goes a long way toward really waking up just that communication piece between you and your body so that you can understand what she's asking for, understand what she's struggling with, and know what steps you need to take to help her heal. Again, your cells are always doing their best. They have universal, infinite wisdom in them, and they will do what they can do as long as we're not getting in the way. Okay, so a lot of this is just getting out of the way and letting the right things happen naturally. Let's see, what else are my notes here? Talked about the EWG website, getting enough rest, getting your walks, getting your good nutrition, fats, protein, all the veggies you can digest in a day. So I think that's it. And I hope that that covers a lot of the questions about, number one, sort of menopause, what are the real issues there? And number two, how my program might be able to support you and address it. I do believe we were born to thrive. And if we're not thriving, something's gotten in the way, and the body knows what it is, and we can tap in and learn what we need to know to remove it and get back on track. Okay, so that's the foundation there. I'm going to go ahead and try to get to one more question now. If you'll bear with me, I wanted to address, I get this question a lot, and I feel like I've answered it before. I'm going to come at a slightly different angle now because there are a lot of people still asking about breakfast. What is the best breakfast for sustainable energy through the day? In order to really, I think, give this the time and attention it deserves, I am creating a breakfast challenge. I don't have the timing just yet, so stay tuned. If you want to be one of the first people to know and make sure you're on the invite list, go ahead and just send me a DM and just say me for the breakfast deal. Put a comment below. Let me know, and I'll make sure that you get invited as soon as we get more details. I think we need to do this together. What I recommend for breakfast is what I recommend for every meal and every snack. Every time you eat, it is an opportunity to nourish your body with the building blocks that it needs to regenerate and heal itself. And this does not have to be boring stuff, okay? Because thriving cells give you a feeling of joy from the inside out, and it is absolutely incomparable to anything else, particularly the happiness we think we get from a sugar high. All right, there's a lot of addictive foods out there. Most of them are marketed to children. It's a real shame. And a lot of them are actually marketed to us first thing in the morning. Look at our culture's breakfast habits. Donuts, cereal, those are the two worst, okay? Bagels, toast, waffles, pancakes, those come next. What I want you to notice is that all of those foods are based on sugar or processed grains through flour that turn to sugar immediately when they hit your bloodstream. This puts us on a terrible blood sugar roller coaster. We get the sugar high, insulin comes out to try to deliver it, cannot deliver it to cells that are insulin resistant, It gets stored as fat, mostly around the middle, other places too, the cheeks, the backside. And that fat is then not necessarily easily accessible. It's not accessed because we have a sugar burning metabolism then. The cells don't even want or need to burn fat. So we lack energy, we feel worse, we have more and more fat storage that's not able to be used. Eventually the brain actually will suffer because the brain is meant to burn fat. It's more than 63% fat. So here's what I recommend instead. Don't eat those processed foods for breakfast. Don't feed them to your children. I want you to eat a breakfast of fat and protein instead. And I want you to try to put some vegetable in there. Okay, if you need ideas for that, come get on my newsletter list. It's a free weekly newsletter. They don't all have recipes in them, but they most of them do. It's the recipes that I rely on that I've fine-tuned over the years. And definitely they're templates for you so you can tweak them how you need to. The best breakfast food is an egg. They are like the world's perfect food with the fat, the carbohydrate, and the protein ratio all like perfect. It's like nature made that perfectly. Funny how that happens. I also recommend that you see, I said skip the sugary stuff. I recommend that you do your best to add 5 minutes into your bedtime routine to get things ready for your morning breakfast. So for me, that means like making sure the pan I need to cook my eggs is clean and waiting on the stove top. The bowl that I'm going to use to whisk them is there next to it. The butter is out, it's ready to go, so that I can make my breakfast routine as simple and efficient as possible. We want to keep stress low. And the way that we do it is by eating breakfast that gives you sustainable energy, that boosts your brain power, keeps you from crashing, and keeps you off of the sugar addiction cycle. All right. So that's what I have to say about that. It's one of the most powerful things you can do for your hormone balance. Absolutely. Okay. So that breakfast challenge will be coming up soon. It'll start with a workshop. I'm collecting labels right now. So I've got cereal box labels and oatmeal labels, and we're going to go through and look at this stuff together. And I'm going to explain what we see on the label, what it means, what to avoid, what to replace it with instead. And I'm so excited to share that with you. I really think this is going to be transformative for a lot of people. And then we'll share breakfast. We'll do it like, for a week or two together. We'll do this breakfast thing, and then you can notice for yourself just exactly how powerful that is and how your body is transforming into a more vibrant version of itself simply because you're giving it the right building blocks to do so. All right. This is all about tuning into yourself, observing yourself, noticing how your body feels. If it feels better, you're doing right. Okay. So just wanted to give you that little bit. And I do want to talk about plantar fasciitis. Unfortunately, we're out of time today. And so what I'm going to do is invite you to join me next week, Wednesdays, 2 p.m. at EST, Eastern Standard Time, weekly live Q&As with me. Next week, I'm going to talk about plantar fasciitis, why it's more than mechanical, and how it might have everything to do with what you eat. That's not a surprise. Also, we're going to talk about electrolytes. So again, we're in this heat wave. We're in the middle of summer. And let's see, I think I'm getting a new comment. Bear with me just a second. We're going to talk about electrolytes and fluid balance. A lot of folks are relying on Gatorade. You already know what I'm going to say. I do not want you to eat things that have artificial ingredients like artificial colors and preservatives. I don't want you to eat anything that has straight out sugar in it. The electrolytes that we need, we'll talk more about next week, and I'll give you some recommendations for how to know if you're getting enough and how to choose the proper ones. So let's see. One more thing. Gonna check. Yeah, I see a message. I'm Matt. I'm not sure if you're still live. I see you there and I see your comment. I think I'm understanding this question correctly. How does having morning food affect things? Well, what's really important about breakfast, if you look at the word breakfast, it's two words. It's break, fast. Fasting is that time overnight when we're not eating. The body needs a fast. Your digestive system needs to rest every day. And a lot of people are using fasting for longer than overnight, like, 24-hour fasting or intermittent fasting is a pretty common thing right now. We need to be careful. I don't recommend longer fasting for people who are new to this sort of cut your carbs and lower your sugar. We have to go step by step to make longer fasting safe and viable for you. But that overnight fast, almost every human body is used to it, right? We sleep, we're not eating, the digestive system will rest. And it's really important then that when we break our fast, that first meal that we eat in the morning, we should eat within an hour of getting up, and it sets the tone, it sets the metabolic process for the whole day right there. So if you eat sugar, then if you eat a donut for breakfast, you're sending all of this glucose into the bloodstream. It's a lot to deal with. Glucose is actually a toxin. We need small amounts of it delivered to every cell in order to propel that cell activity. But a whole load, and how many people eat just one donut anyway? They're not designed for that. Yeah, they know this addictive cycle. These companies that are profiting from us being addicted and sick, that's a topic for a whole other thing. But the idea is if you eat sugar in the morning, you are on the blood sugar roller coaster. Blood sugar goes up, blood sugar comes back down. Now you crash. Now you need something else quick. So now you grab another toxic, sugary snack, or maybe it's a salty snack. A lot of people think they go from sugar cravings to salt cravings. You're still just doing the carb thing, right? Because donuts and potato chips turn to glucose like that in the bloodstream. On the other hand, when you eat fat and protein for breakfast, you are not causing a glucose spike. You're delivering building blocks that the body can immediately provide the cells with for energy and begin to send energy to the brain so that you can be alert, so that you can be attentive, so that you can remember, so that you can have emotional composure, right? It's nowhere is this more obvious than in a classroom full of kindergartners who have all eaten, waffles and donuts for breakfast. It's why they have to get outside. It's why there's so many morning tantrums. Same thing happens in the late afternoon. So the idea is none of that is necessary. Adults handle our blood sugar episodes a little more gracefully than toddlers and kids do, but not always. So we want to establish a good nutritional foundation in the morning because that determines then what's going to happen next. Without the crash, your steady energy, you're going to be inspired to have a more nutritious lunch. You're going to be far more productive in your work, your cognitive abilities. So this is really important that we get things off to the right start with a good breakfast. I hear from so many people that are like 10:30 a.m., their head is down on their desk and they can't handle it anymore. That's their blood sugar crash. All right. You avoid that altogether when you feed the body and brain something that it's asking for, like fat and protein. All right. And I hope that helps. I don't see any other questions. Thank you for bearing with me. This was a long one. I can't wait to see you all next week and follow up on those topics, as I said. I'll put some links below in case you want to know more. Probably the best thing for those of you who are really curious and want to go deeper, I do offer free discovery calls and we can set up a time to chat. Um, I'm not going to hard sell anybody, but I'll be honest. I use this as a way to sort of get to know people to see who might be a good fit for my private coaching program. So if that is something that you're interested in, going deeper, making a commitment to yourself to learn more and implement week by week by week for a longer chunk of time, and watch yourself really progress from someone who is struggling and just barely surviving to someone who can make it through that pathway to thriving, then those discovery calls are a really good setup for you. Otherwise, I'm going to see you all next week. Take really good care, beloveds. And yeah, take care. Love yourselves. I'll see you soon.